Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Yahoo Footballing Weekly. With me, author Neil Humphreys and Yahoo columnist and
Yahoo editor Chia Keong and Manchester City fan Haizam, who is also works for Napshot Studios.
Yeah, I'm part of a team where we do our live shows on Facebook, YouTube as well, social media, every Tuesday and Thursday. We do live live shows, and we get comments from our fans and whoever, to want to talk about football. Why was I talking about food? We have our team is for the fans and by the fans.
Well, not bad. We've only just started and you're plugging your podcast already.
Let's do our podcast go to Napshot Studio. Hear them out. Okay?
We're gonna go #chat shit get bang. In tribute to Jamie Vardy.
Okay. Well, you've got some pressure, Haizam, I have to say, to live up to because the comments we are getting, my friend, we're into our second month now doing this podcast, building week on week. Comments are building week on week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We do mean that sincerely across all our many, many, many platforms. Keong, tell us some of the comments we got from last week.
All right. Here's one from Dysentery Gary, South Park fan.
Great name.
We still want Glazers out, but they sweet talk their way with the new signings.
If that's your kind of sweet talking, then I feel sorry for your wife or your partner. That's all I've got to say.
Casemiro, Anthony, come on.
You need some better sweet talking.
If Lionel Messi, maybe.
Lionel Messi? Oh, dear me. I don't know about that. Okay, now the biggest one we got, again, this is, right, Keong, this is the contradiction. We got one comment here basically saying from Friznax, why always Farndy? No other players good? Bro, just because they are a Farndy does not mean they are good. Agree with me. Well, first things first, Friznax, the reason we keep talking about Farndy is because his boys are doing so well, which ties into Millennial's follow-up comment. Thank you, Millennial. Honestly, all three are the best local players. Even the third brother, Ilhan, is the current local players' top scorer in the S-League with 14 goals. Is that right? 14 goals?
Right.
Now, because of that,
15 already.
I did a bit of research for once, and I looked this up, Keong. At the national level, right, the top scorers, I'm assuming in recent years, I don't know how far back the records go. Farndy, number one, right? He's got, let me see here, he's got 55 goals in 101 caps. That's a ratio of 0.54 goals per game. Decent. He's number one. Then you got Erling Shah, Khairul Amri, Indra Sadan, Duric, and so on. But what shocked me, number 8, Iksan Farndy. He's in the top 10 top scoring Lions of all time.
Maybe 2-3 years in the national team.
16 goals in 31 caps with a ratio of 0.52 goals a game. I mean, that is why we talk about the Fardys every week. Am I right?
Yep. It's natural. I mean, obviously their father is a famous name, but I think after you see them, you have to see them playing and then you know that they are class all the way. Have you seen them play before?
Yeah. I think genetics plays a part in that sense. But then again, let's give credit when it's due. I mean, if we have this, the sons of Fundis being one of the few best players that Singapore have, I think we give credit where it's due. That's the most important part. I mean, let's not shoot them down just because they carry a Fundi surname. It's very difficult when you have a father who is famous, who is arguably the best player Singapore has had.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Let's put this context in Europe. You have Johan Cruyff. Yeah. One of the greatest players.
Yeah.
Jordi Cruyff wasn't a world-class player.
But he was still a good player. But he had to live in his father's shadow.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So I think for us fans, we also have to temper our expectations in that sense. They are doing well, It's good for the national team, Give them credit. Why are we shooting them now? Just because, it's another Fandi, another sons of Fandi, Then who do we have?
Yeah, that's a good point actually, Keong, because yes, there are certain genetic advantages, and let's work it into a question. Probably my favourite question of the week from Pinnacle Mobile Detailing. I'm assuming that's your business, otherwise your parents really hate you, Pinnacle. Maybe I have not been following the podcast. Why? Why, Pinnacle? Why? But anyway,
you must. You should.
You must. It's a law. Maybe I have not been following the podcast, but can you guys dissect why our current guys can't be where the Farndy boys are? Is it networking or mentality? Okay, I'll go first. Networking, yes, obviously. Farndy Ahmad probably knows everybody worth knowing in the coaching communities and the football clubs of Southeast Asia. Plus, he has connections in other countries, as you would expect. Netherlands, that's why his boys all went on training stints to different countries around the world. The next point, though, is key: mentality. That comes to your point, Haizam. I think having the name Fandi, like Cruyff, can work against you.
Yes.
You've got to work twice as hard, right?
And
because the cynicism is going to be there, that it's just nepotism right from the start.
And to be honest, I can see it during the national team training. They have to work extra hard to prove themselves that, they actually belong to that team. So in terms of mentality, they are showing the bar they have to set for the players to follow them. Otherwise, the players won't follow them because they will say, well, you are Fandi, that's why you are in the national team.
Yeah.
I think you agree. Both of you have good points, because you see, the thing is that you imagine if your father is the coach of the national team,
Which he was.
which he was, and then when you bring your sons into the team, people will start questioning, like, no, on what grounds? Is it on merit or because of form? And that argument will never end as long as you have that surname.
Yeah.
And even if you look at when is it Irfan and Ilsan? You are playing in Thailand.
Irfan and Iksan,
It's like Iksan, Fandi, Ahmad.
Yeah.
That name will always be there, and you will, whether you like it or not, that is the legacy that you have to live up with it. And
Correct.
if you are a footballer, you have to prove to your worth, because the comparison will always be there. And like what Neil say, you will always be under that shadow.
Correct.
Whether you like it or not. And then for fans, I think nowadays fans are more brutal
Yep.
and more unforgiving in that sense.
for sure,
Because,
for sure.
so it's really that pressure. And if this is the best players that we have, then give credit when it's due.
Yeah.
Let's not shoot them now.
If he had a different surname, he would have probably progressed even faster. Oh no, that's the Prime Minister. Oh no, it's the same thing one. It's the same thing one. It sounds like Lee Kuan Yew. I'm only joking. Lee Kuan Yew used to say the same thing, right, about Lee Hsien Loong. If he didn't have my name, he would have been Prime Minister faster. But in all seriousness, there's an element of truth with the Fandis. If you didn't judge them by his surname, his family name, and just judge them on their talents, I think we'd be appreciating them even more.
Yes.
We've got two boys in Thailand. We've got another boy, Alberex.
And
right?
they just made the AFC Champions League quarterfinal. First Singaporeans
Exactly.
to do so. Yeah.
In fact, I don't even think we're praising them enough. I know we've mentioned them on this show several times. So I think it's a combination of the two. Final comment we've got here from Yeko Brr. I have no idea where you get these names from. Okay, he says, I think that's the point here. We need to learn from Fandi and replicate this approach for all current, young and future players.
He said it, man.
We have smart listeners. We don't just have regular listeners. We have smart listeners, informed listeners. Thanks,
Well done.
Yeko Brewer. Weird names, but great listeners. Right, speaking of weird names, let's get to poor old Bournemouth losing 9-0 to Liverpool.
And newsflash.
Newsflash, just before we came to air, Scott Parker lost his job for wearing the worst sweatshirt jumper I've ever seen. The weird forced white stripes. Did you see that?
Poor guy, he can't
Right?
seem to catch a break.
Like he was in mourning for 4 different, like the white stripes, the band, the white stripes. I don't know.
First against Fulham, when he was with Fulham, the team was terrible.
Yeah.
And now just 3 games in, he's
And what are those games? His mob, Manchester City.
My
Your
mob.
mob, Liverpool. Top of the table, Arsenal. That mob.
top table.
But I think it's because he went public, didn't he, saying about transfers.
He did say something that that he has not been satisfied with the transfer. He's been worried about their understrength since preseason.
Yeah.
And after that defeat, I thought he didn't protect his players well enough.
Yeah, good point.
He was saying that players are all gasping for breath and everything. And even I think there's really he's completely not satisfied with the team.
I think that's the tricky part, because you see the things that with Bournemouth, you look at the squad that they have coming from the Championship, right? It's bound to happen. It's not good enough for the Premier League, unfortunately. Despite them playing, having that experience past, I think 2 seasons ago. Two seasons ago. If you 2 or 3 seasons ago, you look at the squad that they have in the Premier League, it was never bound to be Premier League quality.
They got promoted largely through their defense. They are the most defensive team in the last Premiership, and they lost the least times. I think only 8 times out of the whole thing. But if your defense lets in 9 goals like that, then you have a problem.
Yeah,
You see.
and they've spent the least.
Yep.
They've bought the least. I think they've got a few free transfers in there, and that's about it. So they're going to struggle. All right, talking about teams that are not struggling, 9-0, Liverpool. Do you see them, Haizam, firstly as your major competitors, your major challengers? And I mean, I'm making this up here because you don't really care, do you? Manchester City are just going to steamroller over everybody. But let's just pretend that that's not going to happen. So we've got something to talk about. What are your biggest concerns or fears or worries about Liverpool?
Okay, I think it's not about the concerns about Liverpool. For me, I'm always a believer that when it comes to the first...
No concern.
First 10 games, especially when the European games or even the Cup games haven't come into place. I think it's still a benchmark where, you're just testing the waters. I think with Liverpool, I think that 9-0 result was really a good result to come back after the defeat against United, which has a crisis on their own. But then again, looking at the, behind the scenes, Klopp was saying that, the midfield is very light, Winning 9-0 doesn't help in that justification that I need more players. So it's really going to be a tricky part moving forward, because I think Liverpool fans, even my friends were saying that Liverpool midfield with the injuries, their midfield is very light.
Yep.
Even for the strikers, Darwin Núñez is, I think, suspended for another
until the
next
until
two,
Newcastle.
But it's a weird one because firstly, Roberto Firmino was fantastic.
Yeah.
I know it was only Bournemouth, but he was fantastic. He scored 2. I think he had 3 assists.
2 goals.
He was back to his brilliant best, which we haven't seen too much of lately. So when you factor in Firmino and then you work out or you add in Diego Jota, who will be back soon from injury, and then of course Núñez will come back, the attack is not too bad. You can't imagine Klopp going out and buying a striker when he's got Salah, Núñez,
and
Jota, Firmino. It's more than enough. Midfield is the issue. However, for 45 minutes, I thought Harvey Elliott, young Elliott, was sensational.
Yep.
Now I'm asking you, Jim, Han Keong, do you think he's good enough to start and stay in the team?
Oh, for sure. But as for youngsters, there'll be bound to be a point where he hits the wall a bit and then can't maybe have the performance dip, and then that's where you need a backup. And Fabio Carvalho, I think, is a more than adequate backup. So
Will they sign anyone?
I know they're going for
I doubt they will sign anyone because like Klopp said during his press conference, he said only if we get the right person. And if you want to get the right person, they're going to give you a exceptionally high price for you to sign. So, if he signs, the fans will be happy. Will be like.
But he won't panic buy. He's never done that.
I doubt he will panic buy.
All right, Haizam, here's a question for you. Man City fan, who do you fear the most? His mob, Tottenham or Arsenal?
Oh, tricky question, man. I didn't thought about it actually.
You don't care about any of them, do you?
No. I mean, I'm sure that Arsenal is gonna pick up form because the way that they're performing is
pick up form. They haven't dropped a point yet.
I mean, they will continue because they will continue the.
You mean the form is the form of losing?
Okay. Hey, they beat Fulham. I still think they're doing their lap of honour, right? I think the Arsenal fans, Eric Ogg, right now is still running around Shenton Way celebrating beating Fulham, right? Wow, it's like winning the Champions League. He got very upset. He got very upset online. I saw Eric. He was tweeting a few people. We should be allowed to beat a crappy team and celebrate like it's the World Cup. Leave us alone. We're Arsenal.
It's been a while since they got a good celebration like that.
It's been a while since they beat Fulham.
Spurs look brilliant.
Yeah. Okay. I think out of the three, I think Liverpool definitely will be the immediate rival in that sense. Arsenal and Spurs, I would say, will be the dark horse. I wouldn't say that they will be directly involved, but like what I say, I'm always a firm believer that when Champions League Cup, the European games come in, Cup games come in, then you see the true nature of teams.
Yeah.
So I think for Liverpool and City, apart from the title, the EPL, I think the Champions League is always the barometer.
Right.
So I was watching 5-0, Liverpool up 5-0 at halftime. I look at the score at
oh my God.
Ooh, 2-0. Palace leading. And then Erling Haaland happened.
He's a monster.
It's a monster.
He is a monster. I mean, it's bad enough you already had a great team, but you haven't signed a footballer. You've signed someone from Game of Thrones. This kid is a Norwegian, Scandinavian Viking, right?
Yeah.
He should be downing dragons, not defences. He is a freak. That third goal was superb. All of them, actually.
Fantastic, all fantastic.
He has no weakness.
The thing is that when, that game, right, when I watched the game, I was like, shucks, we're losing 2-0, my God. Like, typical City.
What do you mean typical City? You win
Typical City,
you win the title every year.
Like
What are
the
you
games that we know, like the games that it's like, I was like, don't give me this this heart attack, heart attacks that I had like the Villa
last
game
game of last season.
It was like, you know what, like how are we supposed to pull that win? And then it happened.
Director Jay, can I have my world's smallest violin again? Can I have my world's smallest violin? This week I need it for the Manchester City supporter. World's smallest violin. We've lost a goal. Oh no, we only have to score 4 now.
In all seriousness, does your defense make you worried? Make you concerned at the very least?
Ederson, and I think the fact that we had Stones and Diaz playing, I think last 2 games we had Ake and Diaz.
Okay.
So Stones coming back, to the team.
Right.
Kind of. I'm not saying that I wasn't confident with Stones. I mean, the defense we have is quite solid in that sense. But like what I said, typical City, somehow or other something must go wrong. Something must go wrong. Like
From a so-called neutral, I love it. I mean, 6 goals a game, back to back, end to end. I mean, John Stones, I've always liked him. I said it on this show last week, but he always seems to have a mistake in there somewhere. Especially at set pieces, both goals, set
the
pieces.
benchmark is like he can be super brilliant, and he can be super shitty.
Yeah.
When he scores goal, the back corners and what don't know, he was scoring that
I was
goal.
very proud of my analogy last week. I said he's part Rio. He's got the Rio Ferdinand, but he doesn't have the John Terry. He doesn't have that defensive wherewithal, with marking and spatial awareness and set pieces in the way that John Terry does. But he can play the ball out of defence.
That's the thing.
Like a Rio Ferdinand.
That's the thing. I think Pep is like, okay, how do you tighten that defence? I mean, if you look at it, if on paper City's defence is really good enough. We don't need to buy another defender because I think that problem will start if unless there was like a major crisis, like Diaz is out injured, we have John Stones only. I think that's where. But I think this season Pep is trying to promote players from the academy. So I think they have if you look at the bench, they will have like 2 or 3 academy players. So I think Pep doesn't want to buy just for the sake of buying.
Right.
Yeah, but like what I said, I think defense wise, I'm not too worried so much. I'm worried if let's say Diaz goes out on an injury. That's the one. Laporte has always, he's quite injury prone, but when on a good day, he's really a good player to complement Diaz. But right now, I'm not too worried so much about defense.
Right.
But the attacking wise,
Yeah, if you keep saying about this defence, me and him will be crying in a minute. Did you need a tissue? Are we supposed to actually care about any of this? The world's richest club.
No, you look at Haaland, right? Haaland is that player that 2 seasons ago would have been great for City. If you look at it, we have not been playing with a striker. False 9. Yep. And I've always have issue with Raheem Sterling, English player. I'm sorry, unpopular opinion.
Yeah.
But the attacks that, he can pass the ball, he doesn't want to pass. He wants to dribble, he wants to be the English Messi and look where. It's always so frustrating. As a City fan, I was just like, you know what, just pass. So Haaland being there, when the small violin is out.
Yeah, we're all so devastated.
When eventually they win by 10 points.
No, it's not going to happen. Last season.
On behalf of Manchester City supporters everywhere, we're sorry for your suffering. We are so sorry. You only won 4-2 this week. I could hardly care less. I could hardly contain my indifference. Right, let's move on. I've had enough talking about Manchester City. Let's talk about something much more fun. But hey, before I do that, if you disagree and if you think he needs, to be consoled for all his suffering, send all your comments about Manchester City's hard times to
Yahoo Southeast Asia at YouTube, Yahoo SG, Yahoo _MY in Twitter, and Yahoo SEA in TikTok.
He's got it.
Every night when I go to sleep,
he is more consistent,
again and again.
more reliable than John Stones in the penalty box. Right, section number 2. What are we talking about? Oh yes, the shithouses. That's what we're talking about. Now I love this. Plug time. I wrote a column about it. I knew before I wrote the column that it would get a lot of response. It did. Richarlison, for those of you who haven't seen it, where have you been? But basically, Richarlison, few minutes left to go. They were nursing a slender lead at that time. Tottenham 1-0 up against...
2-0.
It was 2-0 at that time? No, it was
2-1.
Okay, but at that time?
Yeah,
When he was okay, so they were hanging on to their slender lead. Richarlison goes over to the left wing, juggles it 3 times, does a lazy flick off, and then for showboating, he was almost cut in half. By Brennan Johnson of Nottingham Forest. What did you think of it first?
Well, at first I thought, wow, that is a bit cute. That is a bit like taking the mic.
Yeah, it's
and
annoying.
Out of it. Yeah, it's annoying. And then, well, the Brennan Johnson comes in, like, okay, I thought that's the end of it. And then something happened in social media among the pundits, and it's outrageous. This is disgraceful. This is Richarlison should be banned or whatever it is.
Your boy Jamie Carragher got very excited.
Yeah.
I mean, Jamie Carragher is the last person to be talking about sporting behaviour.
I think he backtracked a bit.
I think he had to.
Now he's saying, I don't mind this kind of shithousery. But I mean, you if you are a club, you're supporting a club, sometimes you want somebody like that in your club. Like I remember when my team had Luis Suarez.
Yeah.
Obviously, you see him doing all the antics, and sometimes he really went overboard.
But you loved him, right?
You feel
you loved him. That was the
that's
point.
A bit too much, Luis. But
you loved him.
We loved,
and the Spurs fans loved him.
Fans.
And the more that the other fans hated him, the more you loved him.
Precisely.
And the truth is, in my opinion, every club needs a shithouse.
Yes.
Every club. Over the years, there's always been one. I can go back to the 70s. Arsenal, Charlie George was terrible. George Best at Manchester United. More recent times, Julian Dix at West Ham. Graham Souness at Liverpool. Eric Cantona. Joey Barton. Balotelli.
Guilty.
And there's always a fine line, as I said in the column, Vinnie Jones grabbing Gaz's, wedding tackle. That's just about on the fine right side. I mean, but Joey Barton stubbing a cigarette out on a teammate, that's way, way too far. But everything else is fair game. It's a bit of theatre. It's a bit of fun. Nobody's curing cancer here, and nobody is setting off World War III here. So, you would think after the response that Richarlison had broke into the Nottingham Forest dressing room and peed on all the players. I mean, the response was insane. What did you think?
Isn't football about entertainment?
Yes.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Like, this is the reason why we fall in love with football. Like, football is not a game of tennis. Football is not going to the library.
Yeah.
We need this kind of entertainment. I mean, shithouse is shithouse. We're calling it as it is.
Hey, I'm a real shithouse in the local library.
But for me, I mean, even if you're talking from an amateur football perspective, you will always have that showboaters. Yep. Whether you like it or not. Yep. And these showboaters are the kind of person we'll laugh about it, and then 5 months down the road, or even the season end, nobody remembers about it.
Robbie Fowler was getting abused the whole game. Was it a Merseyside derby? He was getting abused the whole game for supposedly taking drugs. He scores the goal. He gets on the floor. He sniffs the white line. Is it good? No. Do Liverpool fans still love it to this day? Absolutely yes. Paul Gascoigne gets crap for the dentist chair. He scores that fabulous goal against Scotland, Euro 96. What does he do? Lays on the floor. Everyone squirts water, mimics the dentist chair. And they love him for it. That's the good side of showboating, shithousery.
I mean, just relax. Come on. I mean,
well, where's the perspective? Right. We've talked about this before. Let's talk about perspective. When Alex Ferguson put Fabian Barthez on the wing against Singapore, that's disrespectful, right? When Materazzi abuses Zidane and says disgusting things about his sister in the World Cup final, that's disrespectful. When that idiot racist from Crystal Palace attacked Eric Cantona, that's disrespectful. A guy doing a couple of juggles on the touchline is not disrespectful. For God's sake, get a grip, get a life. There's plenty of other things to get upset about. That wasn't one of them.
But, just the overreaction.
Yeah.
So, I mean, now social media just amplifies everything, and everyone, But and then you just step back and think about it.
And he got his punishment. If you believed in retribution, he almost got his legs separated from the rest of his body. What more do you want?
I think with the fans nowadays, especially with social media, I always believe, even for me and my team on Napshot, we always say that Twitter is a very toxic place.
Yeah.
We have fans on Twitter, who thinks they are the next Jamie Carragher talking about football like as if
and they're fickle as well.
Yeah, and they're very fickle. And the thing is that for us old timers, unfortunately old timers, we appreciate entertainment as football. This is the reason why we fell in love with football.
It's fun, it's theatre, it's pantomime, it's boo hiss, cheer, villains, heroes, villains. Just lighten up. It's a game. It's a bit of fun. I hope he does it more, and he will do it now.
Yeah, he will.
Now he's had a bit of crap for it.
Because coming from
as long as he's not doing for Everton, I'm fine.
Yeah, but and last point on it, right? It's part of the game for a defender on the touchline to shepherd the ball out of play to waste time. And they will orangutan style, right? It's very ugly and it's very unattractive and they'll shield the ball and shield the ball.
Fine.
And that's completely fine.
And this,
a footballer does 3 pretty classy flicks and then lays the ball off. And that's like the end of the world. Like he's been found guilty of chicken molesting or something. Get a grip. Get over it.
I
Get a grip.
think the fact is that nowadays football entertainers are really the villains. If you look at it, according to a lot of fans, online fans, that's why Neymar was hated so much. But then if you look at it, what Neymar did compared to what Mbappe did nowadays, it's very mild. Neymar was an entertainer. Mbappe is just a brat.
Everything is tame now compared to how it used to be. What Graham Souness used to do, what Jimmy Case used to do. Nobby Stiles, they used to send players into row Z with their studs,
In the leads of the 1970s.
Right?
Wow.
Hilarious.
They wouldn't survive a minute in social media.
If you want to see real showboating, YouTube clip, watch Leeds, Southampton, 1972. It's on YouTube. The link is in my column. That is showboating of the highest shithousery order. Brilliant stuff. But moving on to the next one. Cristiano Ronaldo. I'm so fed up with him, I can't say his name. Cristiano Ronaldo. Should he stay or go?
His heart's not there. He can go. I mean, look at it away. I think when he came back for us, like the last dance. I remember United fans are saying about it. The last dance. It's like Michael Jordan coming back to basketball. Everyone say, they got, they swipe a City from getting Ronaldo, But then you realize that it was just romantics. It didn't bring, I wouldn't say he didn't bring anything new to the team. But I think Ronaldo coming back to a team where he know that he was the only winner in the team, it's really something that his pride is there.
But I also feel that he made the wrong decision. I mean, he could have said, no, I'm sorry. I want to go City, because his objective is to win the title again.
Yeah.
And he obviously he's gonna sold by Man United, saying, you come back,
It's not even United.
we're just a couple of steps away, and then
that's a good point actually. That is a good point that's often overlooked, because he's seen as this soulless, driven, determined, committed individual, which he is, which is why he is where he is. But at the same time, it's been well documented that he was very close to joining City, but then he had a personal phone call from Ferguson. And he basically agreed against his better judgment, let's be honest. So this idea that he's this cold, detached, almost Terminator-like figure, but there he made a mistake. He did put emotion, if you like, his heart before his head. Yeah. And now he's in a... Look, I don't feel sorry for Ronaldo at all. Why should any of us feel sorry for Ronaldo? But he's in a slightly strange position. The best case scenario for him, if he can't go, and there's still a couple of days as we're recording this, just accept the role. Cameos, come on, support the team. You'll still get your wages.
And I think Portugal will still pick him in the World Cup squad.
I think he'll be fine.
I think he'll be fine.
I think he'll be fine.
Which brings me, what about Harry Maguire?
That one's tough.
Will Southgate see, okay, he's not playing like regularly, and drop him?
Possible?
Nah, I don't think so. The English text will always be... Do you know that we always feel that the English media hyped up players that, even though they are rubbish, they're still going to get picked.
I agree that they always hype the players, but it's very hard for Southgate to pick someone who's not playing. And the thing about you made a good point about Maguire, actually, because he's in a really awkward situation. Because ideally, I don't see how he gets back into the Man U team for the foreseeable future.
The only thing is Southgate's system, he knows it inside out. And he fits he fits Southgate's system, his style.
That's
true.
So
Southgate might say, I will still pick him.
And the thing is that if you look at it, like the current England defenders, who England have?
They play very defensively anyway. He always picks Kyle Walker. You're talking about a manager who picks Kyle Walker over Alexander-Arnold every single time, because he puts defensive responsibilities ahead of any attacking endeavour. And that's where Maguire kind of fits. He's a no-frills, 2-for-1, discounted, cheapo, pasamalam kind of centre-back.
Bare bones.
But it... kind of works, behind a shielding midfielder like Declan Rice, it kind of works.
Yeah, because if you look at it, if you look at the current generation of England players, even if they are out of form or even not playing, I think what options does Southgate have?
Yeah.
If you look, if you look at it right now, the plethora of strikers that England has, Raheem Sterling will definitely be there.
Yeah.
Rashford will definitely be there. Because the media darlings, the English media have always hyped them up to the fact that, we need to get this players in. Maguire, even though he will not be playing regularly, by foresight or what, England would definitely pick him.
Otherwise, it'll be outraged.
Because why you never pick him? If you look at it, John Stones, Who do we have? English players, defenders.
I like the way you say we, but
Yeah.
carry on. Yeah. We of England.
Not much. To be
Yeah,
honest
yeah.
with you, I mean, and like what you mentioned, Southgate has always been a defensive-minded manager. Maguire fits.
He does fit. He does fit.
So whether Maguire plays or not is going to be subjective. You know, I think Maguire would definitely play.
But he cannot go 6 months without first team football.
that's the thing.
That is the crucial thing he needs to think about.
The clock is ticking.
The clock is ticking. And look, West Ham does need another centre back. So if Harry Maguire, if you're listening, please stay at Man U. But let us know what you think. All right, Harry Maguire, should he stay or go? Cristiano Ronaldo, should he stay or go? Send all your comments and questions. We'll read out the best ones in the next podcast. But you've got to send them to
Yahoo Southeast Asia on YouTube, Yahoo SG, Yahoo_MY on Twitter, and Yahoo SEA on TikTok.
I tell you, I mean, behind the cameras, they're practically giving you a standing
I think I'll
ovation.
record it.
They are. I mean, you're just the best, man. All right. Speaking of the best, or not the best, depending on your perspective, let's get on to local football. The return of the ASEAN tournament, the AFF Championship, which has a new name in December.
It's no longer Suzuki Cup.
Mitsubishi
It's a Mitsubishi Electric Cup.
That's right.
So it's going to be held right after the World Cup. 2 days after the World Cup, 20th of December.
You're kidding.
It starts. So I'm not kidding.
Oh yeah, it's 2
I
days.
didn't
yeah.
realise
It's
that.
two-
I'm not kidding.
It's 2 days after the World Cup.
I got to do more work.
Hang on a minute. This is the Angmor. The one time the Angmor will play the Angmor card. They're going to play over Christmas?
Yes, they are.
Oh, no.
Christmas here, no.
No, I'm out. I'm
Hari
gone.
Raya,
I'm
Hari
gone.
Raya, maybe
Bye.
no.
Hari Raya,
Hari
no.
Raya Puasa, maybe no.
National Day, no.
Yeah, National Day, no. Harry
Chinese
Raya,
New Year, who
no.
cares?
Chinese New Year, no. Christmas for the Angmors,
Diwali,
don't
no.
care. Like. That's it. Like. No. Father Christmas comes before
For
the
your information,
Lions.
it's the
Sorry.
same as the last one. So
Yeah, last time they played Christmas
Also.
Day, right?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So anyway, Singapore are drawn into Group B with Malaysia,
Causeway Derby.
Vietnam, which we are definitely not very, very difficult to beat. Myanmar and Laos, on their day, they could do a bit, but I guess we should be able to negotiate them.
But Laos has a wild card in their syndrome.
What is the tournament format? Is it home and away in their countries?
So the opening group will be home, and I don't know why they're gonna do
Home.
because there are four teams you need to play against. So 2 home and 2 away.
Right.
So then when it comes to semi-finals and final, it will be home and away, 2 legs every gate.
Okay, Haizam, let's get your perspective on this because, I have my views and Han Keong has his, but as an average, long-term, hardcore football supporter, where do you stand on the Tiger Cup / Suzuki Cup / what is it, the Mitsubishi Fridge Freezer Cup?
Tiger Cup, Suzuki Cup.
Where do you stand on that?
I've
Is there much interest amongst the public?
I think with what FAS has been trying to ramp up, one strong, the hashtag, I think they want the fans to come to the stadium. Personally, for me, I'm a lapsed national team football supporter. I've not been watching the games. I'm not saying that I have no interest, but I think with the fact that when your expectations are low, your disappointment is not there. The fact that for the past few seasons,
But I think that's honest.
Yeah,
I think that's
that's honest.
honestly more
Yeah.
reflective of the average person listening to this or watching this. I think they would share pretty much everything you've just said. And I think the point is, there's no need for me and Han Keong to bang on about it every week. We need to be honest. We need to be reflective and say, this is the average view of the average
Singaporeans
Singaporean.
may like football, but they don't necessarily support the national team.
Yeah, and just that doesn't mean that if you don't support the national team, you have no pride for the national football.
correct.
Because the thing is that it's too independent. I think there was one period of time. Let's bring the Malaysia Cup, let's bring the Lions 12 thingy, into the picture. But I think when the fact that on the national front, the Singapore national team has been disappointing for the last few years.
Correct.
I think the fact that it's like, how do we want to come over and support? I think there's a lot of factors, economic factors, tickets are expensive, like why are we going to pay $40, $50 to watch the national team?
That's true.
And it's like the soul has been sucked out from the national team. Compared, the Sports Hub to the old national stadium. Eons apart, worlds apart. That soul, that passion of national football, nationalism in terms of football, it's long dead. Unfortunately, you can flog a dead horse for all that you want, but the reality is that because of that disappointment year after year after year, during Fundy's time when he was a player to where we are right now, it's sad, unfortunately.
So we are discussing right before the show that Singaporeans have forgotten how to cheer, how to express themselves when Singapore is playing. But there was an inkling of a bit of change during that Indonesia, the last Suzuki Cup when we faced Indonesia in semi-finals.
Yeah.
There's a bit of spontaneity that happened when obviously we were backs against the wall against Indonesia and we eventually lost. But here's what I feel we're doing something wrong about that, because certainly there is a lot of passion during that match among the fans. You can see that they are connecting with the lines a bit. But the thing is that the association has been keep on saying that, wow, this is a great match. We should look to this match as the benchmark of our progress. The reality, we had 3 players sent off. We missed a last-minute penalty, and we've lost the semi-final tie in essential. But that one is buried because of the circumstances, and then the fans were cheering, and so let's not keep ourselves onto that Indonesian match. I think the Indonesian match is a one-off.
It was an anomaly.
Yeah. Yes, the fans are a bit sparked by it, but they have to win this.
Yes.
I think they have to win the Mitsubishi Electric Cup in order to even have kickstart the
I could not agree more with both of you, actually. I think you both make excellent points. This idea, Haizam, your point I take completely. This idea that Singapore supporters are all fair weather bandwagon jumpers is actually very unfair. They are generally very loyal and very committed. I mean, jokes aside, the fact they've stuck with Manchester United, even though they're pretty crap at the moment, tells you everything. And if you go back a little bit, 1998, I'll never forget this, Tiger Cup, when nobody really knew what it was. It was the first time I heard a spontaneous eruption of joy from my HDB apartment block in Toa Payoh, 1998, when Sasi Kumar, the Blade of God, scored the winner against Vietnam in the final. So don't say that there's no passion. There is passion. It just has to be ignited. Just give them something. 2012, just to finish, 2012, it was Radi's last one. Radi Avramovic, all the veterans were there, Bennett and Duric and Adi, they all came together for one final hurrah, and the passion was there again. And I think most Singaporeans say, we don't expect you to win every time, but just give us something. Give us some hope, some joy, some spark, anything, and we will follow you.
Yeah, I think the coming back to the point, I mean, I've always been interested in how the KPI between the national football team and local football per se. First and foremost, I think make games cheaper and affordable for people to attend. That's where you get the fans. Okay. There are, I would say, the majority of lapsed fan in Singapore who used to follow the national football team is there. It's just like what Neil say, light a fire, up their bottoms.
Yeah, you don't have to win every game, but just give them a spark.
Show that person, like what you mentioned. The Indonesian game was an anomaly, but then but it sparked that fire.
It is there. It's like lying dormant at the moment.
It's like like the whole country is like, oh, we are behind the Singapore national team against Indonesia. And the online wars were like, whoa, back and forth.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. We cannot use that as that benchmark. We have to keep consistent.
On the pitch, you have to be better.
And football has an advantage over every other sport, that because you have that latent cultural, historical ties to the game that go back to Malaysia Cup 100 years, that for anyone to show an interest in swimming, you need schooling.
Yes.
Or badminton, you need your best buddy.
What can you?
Yeah, you need a world champion. You need that. And then it kind of goes away again. It dissipates. But football, it's never gone away. It's never going away. It's always going to be our umbilical cord. Football and Singapore, it's in our DNA. It just needs to be rekindled. It just needs that little trigger. I'm with you 100%. I don't think they necessarily have to win, but show them something. Show some potential. It's down to the Fadi boys again.
Show that passion. Important thing is that as players, I think you must understand the pains of the lapsed football fans in Singapore, the national team especially, football fans. Bring that desire, bring that passion. It's not about meeting KPI like, oh, we beat this team. Like if you look at it right now, right, we are no longer the giants of Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
We look at Vietnam. We look at Philippines. Philippines started off. It's not even a footballing nation, and where they are right now, they're better than us. Like they were talking about the fact that it's different because what's different? We started the naturalization of players. Indonesia has started following it. Malaysia has already done.
And Philippines
Philippines is
gone
guilty.
big time.
Big time. So Vietnam as well. So the thing is that we started, we are the trailblazers, but yet we are no longer the giants of Southeast Asia. We are the minions, And when you have Sundram, who is the technical director in Laos, it says a lot about how our association is looking at former players. We are talking about, I had this friend who's German, by the way.
Why'd you look at me?
No.
I know him. Because I know all Angmos or what? I don't know him.
Because he was telling to me, like, Germany had that issue many years ago.
Oh, okay.
Top heavy. Singapore is facing the same thing.
Yes.
Top heavy, the pyramid is lopsided. Right. So, foundation-wise, there is no foundation in that sense. Football is expensive, you have to pay to play football. It's always about the capitalism. So, in order for Singapore football to really progress or go back to that standard, we have to look from the grassroots.
Yep.
Have that, consistent, like what Neil say, it won't go away. Is that football in Singapore has always been there for hundreds of years. So we have to look at that instead of looking at dollars and cents, which is unfortunately the reality in Singapore, whether we like it or not. But to get back to where we are right now, to where we were, we have to spark that, passion. We don't have to need to have this campaign, one strong, whatever, That's not the point. No, I'm not shitting on FAS.
Sounds like it.
But then this is the reality because coming from a Labs football fan.
No, I agree.
Yeah. The thing is that don't give us this hashtag, don't give us all this thing. Just play with passion. Get the players, get the manager who shows passion. Radi was one of them. Douglas Moore.
Yoshida was also kind of.
Yeah. So the thing is that get the manager who can spur the players. We don't need, like I think there was one joke who said that you put Mourinho to manage the national team, he will not work wonders.
Yeah.
You don't put Messi, you put Messi in there, he will not be able to. Because why? The infrastructure is terrible. We don't have a culture. The national team has no culture. Even the support for the local clubs, there's no culture. How are we supposed to grow the football team?
But they're working on it. This is what we talked about on the podcast before, right? More overseas stints. We've got the young boy this week, 14 years old,
Denzel Washington, no. Denzel Turugam.
Yeah, Denzel Turugam has gone to La Liga Academy in Spain, so that's a nice upbeat way to finish. 14 years old, that's what we need more of. Overseas stints, younger age, move national service. We're not allowed to talk about that. Are we allowed to talk about that?
All the best to him. But the thing is, how supportive his parents are.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the mother and the brother are going to move with him to Spain, relocate to Spain, for just to stay with him, just to make him not feel too homesick.
Exactly.
And that's we are seeing more and more parents, willing to sacrifice a bit, to support their kids along their sporting journey.
Correct. It's not rocket science, is it?
Yeah.
I had a parent this morning say to me, my daughter wants to be a writer. How does she become a writer? She writes. Every single day, she writes until she becomes a good writer. If you want to be a footballer, you play every single day with the best people you can. You go overseas, you go to academies, you go to training stints, you do what the Finey boys did. We come full circle to the top of the show. You send them overseas. You give everything you've got, right? You send them to Chile, you send them to Europe, you send them to Southeast Asia. You don't just leave them in the kampong and expect everything to happen. You've got to get them out there, get it going.
You look at schooling. He went to US to train. You look at Keong, he has to uproot himself from Penang to Singapore.
His best friend.
So, if you want the major success, you need to see the world.
And the support is really important because I have a friend whose both sons and daughter are in the Lion City Academy.
Right.
Yeah. So I spoke to him before. It's like he said his two sons are talented in football and athletics, and they both came to him and asked him, Daddy, which sport should I take? He said, follow your heart. So the thing is that they are brilliant in football. Me and my friends were saying that, these are the two that maybe not in our time, they become national players because the talent is there. But most important thing, like what my friend says, is that the support must be there.
The support must be there.
We cannot have the mentality of, we want the results, but you don't want the struggle.
No, you got to struggle.
You got to have the infrastructure. You got to do the struggle.
You got to have the parental support.
You have to have the parental support.
Correct.
Like if you really have to hustle really hard in order for you to achieve that dream, by all means go.
Basically, you have to follow the Fandi Ahmad model, which we said at the beginning. So you know what you have to do out there, folks. Build the damn statue, all right? Outside the sports hub. That's what I think. Follow the Fandi way and build the man the statue. That's all I've got to say. Fandi, I called you Fandi.
Fandi.
I say his name so much. Han Keong. Where do they send us comments, views, opinions, questions? How do we do well? Where do we send our kids? Where do they send their comments?
Yahoo Southeast Asia YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe. Yahoo SG, Yahoo_MY on Twitter, Yahoo SEA on TikTok.
Thank you very much. Haizam, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
man.
we'll play the violins for you later on Manchester City. Thank you again for watching. Please keep your comments and questions coming in every week, and we'll see you all again next week. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.